So real quickly, I just want to go over what it is that I've been doing with this, because I didn't have enough storage on this phone when I first started this. Anywho, what we're looking to do is, on the reverse side here, let me flip this over, is we're going to be getting rid of this wood inlay that was originally used as a grip for this rifle. As you can see, there are lots of imperfections that are in this stock kit. On the opposite side, the side that I've already worked on, was a lot worse than what it was that I was currently working with right now. But I mean, there's little nicks. I mean, the little shiny spots that you can see, those are just all little imperfections everywhere throughout the stock here. And what we're going to do is we're going to end up getting this ready for a custom paint job and sell it off and just keep on moving and trucking. So right now what I've used is a Bondo. I haven't gone through a glaze yet. Glaze will be a second step. But when you guys do this, everything should be one smooth finish. Do one skin. I started from the front of the stock all the way to about where the trigger would be, and then I did the handle itself, and then I did the butt of the stock. And the reason why I did the handle itself is just because of the awkwardness of the shape and the contouring that it has. There's a lot of work in. When you guys are doing this, make sure that you are not using, a fair share of Bondo on this, because this isn't automotive. This is, this is a whole other ball game, because the more Bondo you guys put on this, the more work you're giving yourself. If you're new to this, there's a technique that we have that's called feathering, and this is what this effect looks like. We don't want anything that's a hard line that looks like this, even though that the Bondo is laid inside the wood, which is what's given us that line. You can see also right where I have been sanding that there's this feather effect. And there's a feather effect here, and there's a feather effect over here, and there's the feather effect right here. This is what we're looking for this particular stock, is that we want this to be completely flush, so that way when we go to primer it, then we go to paint it, that this will not only be hidden, but obviously we will no longer be having this. And then again, the same with this right here. We want to make sure that everything about this is completely flush. When you guys are working with something that's got some random divots, such as this, it's very important to only do one portion of it at a time. That way you can use the opposing side as your guide, so that way you know where everything is at. And then if you're working with something like this that's got a hard line on it, make sure that you tape it off on this side and then do your work on this side. That way you still have this line, so if you end up putting Bondo over it completely, you're not losing your line. Very much like this line here. Once I go ahead and I sand this and I clean this up a little bit, it won't look as tacky, but there was tape that covered this part of the butt of the stock, so that I wasn't getting Bondo and I wasn't scratching onto this part of the gun. So this is part 1 of 2. And then part 2 will be this side, and I will be going through the primering and then the painting, and hopefully we will have a nice looking custom stock. Haven't decided on a color yet, but when I do, I probably still won't reveal it till it's all done and said. But at the end of the day, this is what we're aiming for. So if there's anybody out there that's interested in learning how to do this, this is my very first stock that I'm doing. I've done automotive, and so far it's not a whole lot different from it, other than just making sure that you're paying attention to what's inside here, because if there happens to be a knock somewhere, or if there happens to be something that just doesn't line up the way it does over here, there's a specific purpose for it, so don't mess with that. But yeah, just make sure that all of this is nice and smooth. There's no high spots. If you're wondering where a high spot is, put a glove on, use a paper towel. If it happens to do this at any given time, go back over it and just sand it and just sand it and just sand it. But yeah, if your mud work ain't there, your final product is going to come out looking like crap. So make sure you guys have got that down. Make sure you guys watch plenty of videos, get it done, and I will continue on with this later on.